Gandhi, the relentless perfectionist, persisted refining the satyagraha in the light of his experiences throughout his life. He tried out this non-violent soul force, not only against British colonial rule, but also to root out debilitating social evils in India. The causes espoused by Gandhi were never abstract. Non-violent satyagraha was time and again utilized to liberate those in bondage, ameliorate their suffering, and to restore them to their dignity. Gandhi devoted himself to the task of the removal of untouchability, which according to him was an unacceptable blemish on Indian society. He was deeply disturbed by the British schemes to divide Indians, fighting for freedom on the basis of caste and religion. There could be no end to the violent social strife, he felt, if mankind ignored gross injustices around them. To counter communalism of politics, he opposed separate electorates. While he was imprisoned in the Yarwada jail, he announced that he was embarking on a fast unto death. Gandhi's health being frail, this agitated all Indians. Moral pressure built up steadily, and the British had to give up this plan. Gandhi appealed that the Hindu should rise in revolt against degrading social practices. People contributed generously to this cause. He commented, "More than your money, I need your hearts." Gandhi's tireless exertions brought about dramatic results. Temples threw open their doors to the untouchables. Stifling tradition was defied and caste barriers, thousands of years old, broken. The untouchables, whom Gandhi called children of God, had a great sense of empowerment. Gandhi believed that India lived in villages, and the nation, even after independence, could not progress unless there was improvement there. He viewed each village as a potential republic, self-reliant and self-governing, that would provide an environment where each individual, cooperating with others and in harmony with nature, would realize his full potential. During this phase, he made khadi, homespun cloth, the mission of his life. Khadi for Gandhi embodied the idea of self-reliance. That alone could realize the ideal of freedom. The spinning wheel for him was no fetish. He was eloquent in its defense when charged that he was propagating obscurantist ideas and looking back to a sterile past. He said, "India was enslaved when it forgot the charkha. India will be restored to its old glory when it reclaims the spinning wheel." It was our love of foreign cloth that ousted the wheel from its position of dignity. Therefore I consider it a sin to wear foreign cloth. I must confess that I do not draw a sharp or any distinction between economics and ethics. Gandhi had no quarrel with the machine. He conceded that in a society where labor was scarce, machines of mass production had a role to play. But in India, where millions suffered unemployment or underemployment, machines could not be allowed to dwarf man. As Gandhi watched darkness descend over Europe in the closing years of the 1930s, he was greatly distressed. He had long believed war, with all its glorification of forces, is essentially a degrading thing. It demoralizes those who are trained for it, brutalizes men of generally gentle character. It outrages every beautiful canon of morality. Its path of glory is foul, with passions of lust and red with blood of murder. as the world stood precariously perched on the edge of a precipice. Gandhi wrote a letter to Adolf Hitler, making a fervent appeal not to do anything that might jeopardize peace. But he received no response. Events in Europe came as a rude shock. Hitler marched into Austria, and the tramping of the soldiers' boots could be heard in distant India. Many pondered, was this the prelude to catastrophe? How long could war be avoided? Gandhi was appalled by the shameful appeasement at Munich. While it is brave to fight, he felt it was braver still not to fight. He firmly held that the bravest never yield to aggression. Nonviolence, according to him, was not a passive quality, but a potent force to be exerted for the good of humanity. This was the year he toured the northwestern frontier provinces of India and won the hearts of the fiercely independent Pathans. The tribesmen were under the leadership of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, converted to the creed of nonviolence. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan was one of Gandhi's staunchest followers, belonging to one of the fiercest Pathan tribes from the northwestern provinces. The conversion of a lion into a meek Satyagrahi lamb made Khan Sahib a legend in his lifetime and won him the epithet as Frontier Gandhi. Finally, war broke out in September 1939, and India, as a colony of Great Britain, was, against her wishes, and without the consent of her people, forced to join the Allied forces. The Indian National Congress made it clear that it would defend the democracies under attack by the fascists, but would do so only as an independent nation. Efforts made to reconcile the two parties proved futile. In 1940, Gandhi once again visited Shantiniketan. His old friend Tagore was quite ill, but came out to welcome him warmly. Gandhi and Tagore on the surface appeared different from each other, but both were rooted in the soil of India. Yet, as Nehru so aptly remarked, they were men of the present day. The two had often differed publicly on policy issues, but both realized that they complemented each other. Gandhi agreed with the poet. I do not want my house to be walled in on all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the culture of all the lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. But I refuse to be blown off my feet by any. As the crisis created by war aggravated, Gandhi gave a call to the British to quit India. He exhorted the freedom fighters to continue their struggle non-violently. Unfortunately, the British Indian government panicked and arrested Gandhi and all the other leaders of the Indian National Congress. The masses, seething with anger and unrest, took to the streets, venting their wrath. Repression was brutal. Gandhi lost two of his most valued companions in jail, his secretary, Mahadev Desai, and his wife, Kasturba. Gandhi was soon afterwards released from prison on health grounds. Leaving personal bereavement behind, he moved on. Famine stalked Bengal in 1943. The province had become a land of sorrow and suffering. This tragedy tormented Gandhi. He appealed to his fellow Indians to come to Bengal's aid. Meanwhile, the flames of war continued to engulf and consume innocent victims. When the atom bombs destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Gandhi felt that the new weapon had deadened the finest feeling that has sustained mankind for ages, and warned sternly, unless the world adopts non-violence, it will spell certain suicide for mankind. He observed with great insight that the tragedy of this bomb is that it cannot be destroyed by counter-bombs. Mankind has to get out of violence, only through non-violence. Hatred can only be overcome by love. The country was still coping with famine when another dance macabre started. The dark shadow of coming events, an amputation of India proposed by the British, had cast a pall of gloom. Anxieties soon gave way to fanatic frenzy. Bloody riots broke out in many parts of India. In this darkest hour in the history of the land of his birth, Gandhi did not despair. He stood fast in his belief that amidst darkness, light persists. Amidst falsehood, truth prevails, and that ultimately good triumphs over evil. He marched undeterred by considerations of personal safety, accompanied by a small band of devoted followers through remote countrysides that had suffered communal carnage. It seemed that the springs of life were dying. With poet Tagore's evocative lines ringing in his ears, the frail old man walked on alone, following a punishing one village, one night schedule. When there is none to hearken to your call, then walk alone, igniting your heart, if need be, to light the flame that illumines the dark path ahead. During the brief span of 7 weeks, he covered 47 villages and traversed 116 miles. Truth and ahimsa were the two shining stars that guided him along the perilous path. Villagers thronged to his prayer meetings. Gandhi brought love where hatred reigned and urged people not to fear anyone but God. The miserable were mesmerized. The pilgrim of peace purged the hearts of the people of all impurities. Gandhi dispelled hate with love, and fear fled wherever he stopped. Soothing the disturbed, Gandhi pleaded persuasively for repentance, restitution, and reconciliation. For a while it seemed that the raging furies could be stilled and maybe vanquished. The respite was short-lived. The lava of violence spilled over from Bengal to neighboring Bihar. It was under the most painful circumstances that India emerged from subjection to freedom on the 15th of August 1947 to keep its tryst with destiny. Jawaharlal Nehru unfurled the flag of free India at Red Fort in Delhi. A new age was dawning, but the birth pangs of the new nation were unbearably painful. Away from milling crowds in Delhi,